Namaste. Very good afternoon to all our viewers who have logged in right now. It is great to have our audience here. Today we are going to have FB live session on the occasion of World Liver Day. To acknowledge us more about liver and its commonly prevalent diseases, we have with us Dr. Chirag Desai. Dr. Chirag Desai is presently Chief Consultant and Program Director of the Department of Gastrointestine, Hepatobiliary and Liver Transplant Surgery at the Apollo Hospitals, Gandhinagar. Dr. Chirag Desai is one of the most accomplished hepatobiliary, pancreatic and liver transplant surgeons in India. Beginning his career as a surgeon 22 years ago, he has now worked for over 16 years in the field of GI, hepatobiliary and liver transplant. Dr. Chirag Desai and team have performed many liver transplants, including first successful living donor live transplant in Gujarat. Dr. Chirag Desai does both living and cadaver donor liver transplant for adult as well as pediatric patients. He is specially interested in the treatment of liver tumors, jaundice, and treatment of portal hypertension. He has extensive experience in the treatment of gastrointestinal cancers. He has a large series of pancreatic necrosectomy with excellent result. He was awarded the Royal College of Physicians and Surgeons of Glasgow Travelling Fellowship to the Asan Medical Center, Seoul, South Korea. This is the biggest living donor liver transplant center in the world. Dr. Chirag Desai is also the honorary hepatobiliary and liver transplant surgeon to Aichi, the governor of Gujarat. He has been appointed as an examiner by the Royal College of Surgeons of Glasgow and Intercollegiate Board, UK. He is first from Gujarat to have this honor. Welcome, Dr. Chirag, sir.
Thank you, Nancy, and welcome everyone who is watching this Facebook Live session. And I wish all of you happy World Liver Day. And on the occasion of World Liver Day, I intend to spread the awareness about the liver diseases and its associated issue for the general public, and intention is to avoid during this whole half an hour session to avoid medical terminologies and make it as lucid as possible so general public can understand about liver disease.
Thank you so much, sir. Let me remind our audience that you are seeing and listening to us live. Welcome, Dr. Chirag, sir, and thank you so much for joining us. Today, we'll attempt to have an insight on the most frequently raised queries amongst the mass population in context to the liver. So, sir, starting with our first question to be addressed on, how is liver one of the most vital organs in the body and what is its role? Over to you, sir.
See, liver is the largest organ of the body. It is situated in the abdomen. We have only one liver. It is very crucial and it's one of the 5 main systems of the body, apart from heart, lung, brain, and kidneys. And it is part of a lot of systemic changes that happen in the body. It is very important to give us nutrition, metabolism, coagulation control, glucose control. It is involved in more than 1,500 types of different functions. And when the liver gets affected, all these functions get affected, and hence the person can really become sick. So it's very important to take care of liver because until very late, the liver failure patients don't show any significant signs and symptoms. And by the time we realize that liver is affected, it's usually too late. So it is very important to be aware about how the liver functions, how often it should be examined, and how it manifests when it gets affected clinically.
Okay. So over to the next question. I would like to know what are the common diseases that occur in the liver?
See, liver can get affected because of excessive consumption of alcohol, virus diseases like hepatitis A, hepatitis B, hepatitis C, hepatitis E. It can also get affected in some of the nutritional disorders. Then fatty liver of the disease, which is not very uncommon in the Indians and especially in Gujaratis. And metabolic syndrome affecting liver, which we call non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. So these are the common causes of liver failure. However, there are some very uncommon causes like or drug overdose and all, which cause liver failure in a very short time. Even consumption of things like mushroom and all, if especially it's not a right kind of quality, can also lead to development of liver failure in a very short time.
Okay, sir, I'm indeed very happy to let you know this, that a patient has commented and he thanks you so much that you treated him of the liver cirrhosis and he is very healthy right now.
Thank you.
Okay, sir. So, sir, over to the next question. How does hepatitis occur? It is frequently seen among the mass population, and how does it occur, sir?
See, commonly there are 4 types of hepatitis, viral hepatitis, what we call occurs: A, B, C, and E. Usually, hepatitis A and hepatitis E are contracted through contaminated food, unhealthy hygiene, unhealthy food habits, or open food and eating from a dirty plates or plate of a contaminated person or a diseased person. Hepatitis B and hepatitis C usually occurs as a result of disease transmission through either a contaminated needle, contaminated blood, contaminated instrument. It is very important that we are aware about all those risks which produces and transmits hepatitis A, B, C, and E. Just having awareness can help you prevent these diseases. To prevent occurrence of these diseases, one should eat from a clean area. Outside food, if you are consuming, then you should insist on a well-cooked food. You should insist on a place which is clean and has good quality of environment and which is clean. You should avoid things like open lari and all, giving pani puri and all those things, which are very tasty, but it's not without risk. Hepatitis B and C can be prevented by taking treatment in a hospital which has good sterilization protocols. Even one can use the disposable razors at a barber shop. So all those things, small things, are very important to prevent these diseases.
Okay, sir. Sir, what can be done to prevent this disease?
So, as I said, just having awareness and preventing to avoiding contaminated food, and by avoiding contaminated needle and blood products, it can help you prevent these diseases. Once the disease is contracted, it may have a period of few weeks to few months before the disease becomes obvious clinically, and it can present as either weakness, body ache, jaundice, or swollen limbs, fever, pain in the abdomen. And when you investigate these patients, you realize that this patient has hepatitis. When the disease starts, initially it may not be very obvious this is a liver disease. It may look like just other febrile or fever illness or a viral fever. But when it does not respond to the usual treatment, when you investigate these patients further, you realize that this person has got hepatitis. Now, once the hepatitis is detected, it is treatable. Hepatitis A and hepatitis E usually needs supportive care. There is no specific treatment to treat and get rid of hepatitis A and E, but usually it responds to the treatment and the patient gradually recovers. Occasionally, they may take time to recover completely. It may take up to few weeks to few months, and rarely it may need liver transplant because of ongoing liver failure. As far as hepatitis C is concerned, it is usually asymptomatic. It's not detected clinically. It does not have a manifestation, and it is usually identified during the course of routine blood tests. So once hepatitis C is there, it used to be very difficult disease to treat. However, for last few years, the new generation of medicines have come up, which has made the treatment very easy. And with few weeks to few months of treatment, most of these hepatitis C patients can be cured. As far as hepatitis B is concerned, one can try to prevent it by taking vaccination. Nowadays, even in India, most of the newborn children are vaccinated with hepatitis C vaccine, hepatitis B vaccine. In spite of doing all this, if you will end up having hepatitis B, it can be controlled with medicines and the patient can recover. However, they may have disease lifelong and eventually may need liver transplant. Hepatitis B is very difficult to eradicate from the body, and we hope that like hepatitis C, the new invention helps us discover new medicines to treat and eradicate hepatitis B.
Okay, sir. So what are the general available treatment options for this?
I've just said that hepatitis B and hepatitis C can be treated with medicines.
Okay.
And if you end up having cirrhosis, then obviously the transplant, liver transplant is the only option.
Okay, sir. So moving ahead to the liver tumors, what are the types of liver tumors?
See, there are two main types of tumors that develop in liver. One is which starts from liver, and the other variety is the tumor is somewhere else and then it spreads to liver. Now, if we talk about the liver tumors which start in the liver tumor, is usually in the background of otherwise diseased liver. There is underlying cirrhosis, either hepatitis B, C, or alcohol problem going on. And when you identify this tumor, the treatment depends whether the underlying liver is functioning okay or not. If the underlying liver is working okay, you can just take care of the tumor and support the rest of the liver. But if the underlying liver is also not working okay, then liver transplant is an option which takes care of underlying liver problem as well as associated liver tumor. Now, the other subset of problem is the liver tumors coming from somewhere else. There is a category of tumor we call neuroendocrine tumor. So neuroendocrine tumor coming to liver, or cancers of the colon or rectum spreading to liver, and some other selected tumors spreading to liver can be treated with some medicines, surgical resections and all. And we can control the liver and increase the lifespan and the functional outcome of the life of this patient for a few more years.
Okay, sir. So how can they be treated?
Apart from surgery, there are some other ways by which we can treat this tumor. The tumors which are not amenable to surgical resection but are small can be treated with radiofrequency ablation, where under either sonography or the USG guidance, the needle is passed into the tumor and then the whole area is burnt. So that burns not only the tumor but the part of the liver around it. Then another way of treating this tumor is to put the chemotherapy directly into the tumor by doing angiography of the liver vessel. And after the chemotherapy is put into the tumor, that blood vessel is blocked off. And this helps you control the rate at which the tumor is growing, and at times helps you shrink the tumor. If there are more than one tumors and the underlying liver is also diseased, if you do the liver transplant, the whole liver as well as the tumors are removed and replaced with new liver, and this patient can have a good outcome like other patients undergoing liver transplant.
Okay. So as you just said that liver transplant is one of the treatment options. So can you please let us know exactly about liver transplant and what is it?
See, liver transplant is a process in which the diseased liver is removed and is replaced with a new liver. So this whole process is known as liver transplant, and it is one of the biggest undertaking on the human body.
Okay, sir. So what are the types of liver transplant that can be performed normally?
See, liver transplant involves removal of the old diseased organ and it is replaced with a new liver. Now, depending on where the new liver comes from, decides the type of transplant. So there are two ways we can do the transplant. One is cadaver organ or the diseased donor liver transplant, where the liver comes from the brain dead person. The brain dead person is a person who had either very bad head injury or brain hemorrhage, and the brain got damaged to such an extent that it is not compatible with life, and that person is brain dead. After the brain is dead, before the heart stops, we have some time, and if we maintain and remove organ after patient's family gives the permission, we can use these organs for transplant. And once this liver is retrieved from the brain dead person, it is then given to a person who is first on the waiting list. So this is one way of doing liver transplant. Usually the patients may not have enough time to wait on the waiting list for the availability of the cadaver transplant, and in that case someone from the family can donate the part of the liver for liver transplant, and this is known as living donor liver transplant. So this is one way of classifying liver transplant. Then there are another way of classifying is the transplant done in emergency for emergency conditions of the liver, and the transplants done for livers which are having problems for quite some time.
Okay. Sir, how do you exactly decide when the transplant is needed or required?
When the liver is affected, it produces jaundice, it makes the blood thin, it affects kidney, the fluid in the abdomen gets accumulated, the person starts having repeated fever, blood in the vomiting, swollen feet. So these are various ways of suggesting that this person has liver damage beyond a point. So we use a scoring pattern, what we call MELD score, and it is calculated by using simple blood tests. And when the person's score is beyond certain level, that person needs liver, transplant needed straight away. So that's how we use the criteria to decide which person needs liver transplant.
Okay, sir. So we have a question from one of the viewers. She asked that can liver damage be reversed?
Liver damage cannot be reversed. Usually once liver, if it is an initial just swelling or infection, obviously that much damage can be reversed. But once a fibrosis in the liver sets in or the scarring within the liver sets in, it is irreversible. The only thing, and it is usually progressive, the only thing you can do is by reducing the insult to the liver and try to reduce the rate at which it progresses and postpone the full-fledged cirrhosis or the need for transplant. So this is very important. But even a scarred liver, if supported well and the initial insult is removed, then that can also function quite well for quite some time.
Okay. So again, she asked that she knows that alcoholism damages the liver, but what other toxic substances are there that will do the damage?
See, apart from alcohol, some of the medicines, even some of the Ayurvedic products have been found in some of the centers in the South India, that excessive use of these Ayurvedic products can also cause liver damage. So it is very important that one is aware about what that person is consuming. It is not important that because it is Ayurvedic, it is good. So alcohol, some medicines, some things like this Ayurvedic product, they all can over a period of time damage the liver, and anything in excess is obviously a poison and should be avoided.
Okay, sir. So one of the viewer asked, what is the best edible oil for the liver? Would you like to comment on the same, please?
There is no specific edible oil, but we all know that the amount of oil that we consume in our day-to-day life should be as low as possible, and we should have the combination of the oils used. Anything you should not just give preference one kind of oil over other, and routine oil in your routine day-to-day life is fine, but if you are consuming deep fried food occasionally, repeatedly, again and again in a high and large quantity, it's not good for life. Some people may tolerate this for a long time, and they are probably the best, blessed ones. But everybody don't tolerate it well, especially those who already have other causes affecting liver, or those who have underlying fatty liver disease. They should avoid using this excessive fatty liver.
Okay, so that was quite informative. So yet we have another question which is very interesting. He says, how important is the HCV status for the employees? How important is it for us to know that?
See, in most of the hospitals, before the person is employed, they have to undergo health checks. So it is not the risk to the healthcare workers from the patient, but it is also very important to have the risk minimized for the transmission of infection from the healthcare worker to the patient. And most of the hospitals do screen their new employees for hepatitis B, hepatitis C, and all these transmissible diseases. And it's a very good question that you brought up. It is very important that we should know the status of the health workers also. And if they are found to be positive, not only they are treated, but they are put in such areas where they are not directly exposed to the patient, and thus we can prevent the transmission of infection to the patients.
Okay, so one of the viewer asks that what is the best diet to follow?
See, healthy lifestyle in general that you follow for heart or in general stands true for liver also. Nowadays, as I said, metabolic syndrome leading to fatty liver disease in Indians and Gujaratis especially is on the rise. And to have in general disciplined lifestyle is becoming very, very important. And I cannot emphasize more here in response to your question that not only we should reduce the fat content, sugar content in the diet, we should control diabetes, we should keep the cholesterol in check. And if you have thyroid, we should keep the thyroid also under control, repeated blood checks to make sure what is your SGPT level or the liver functions, and as in, when the time requires, you should get the sonography done and keep your liver checked. But a healthy lifestyle in terms of moderate food habits and associated exercise in your day-to-day lifestyle will definitely help you take care of your liver.
Okay, so there's a viewer who says that it's very informative session for the patients and relatives both. We would like to thank you, sir, and special thanks to Dr. Chirag Desai, sir, that is engaging us in such an informative conversation.
Thank you.
So, sir, moving back to the liver transplant that we were talking about. So, who can donate liver?
See, if we talk about living donor liver transplant, it is very important that somebody from the family or extended family is identified as a donor. The donor is usually preferred between the age of 18 to 50 years. That person should be willing to donate and should not be forced. The blood group should be matching. That person should not be overweight, should not have any bad habits like excessive alcohol or tobacco consumption. And that person should be otherwise healthy and fit. Now, once that person decides that he or she wants to donate a liver, that person has to undergo a series of tests in various phases, and they have to then go through various checks by various specialists. And once they are passed through all this, they are fit to donate a liver. And then they have to go through the hospital committee and government committee for the final permission. And once all that is done, then that person can donate the part of the liver. Now, in case of living donor liver transplant, where a person is donating a liver, the liver is divided into two, and the one portion is given to the patient and the other portion stays back in the donor. And in following few weeks of transplant, the liver grows in both the bodies and achieves the required size in few weeks after transplant. So the average hospital stay, if we talk about for donor, is 10 to 12 days in case of living donor liver transplant. And the patient or the person who receives transplant is in hospital for 2 to 3 weeks. In cadaver transplant, they can be discharged even sooner, and they are usually back to work, especially the donor, after about a month or so of transplant operation, and they don't have to take any medicines lifelong or anything.
Okay, so what is the usual cost for the liver transplant and what are the results of that? Can a person live healthy life after the liver transplant?
See, if we talk about cost varies significantly from center to center, and depending on whether that center is supported by government or not, and whether they receive grant or not. And hence, in some of the government hospitals in India, the transplant can be done in a cost as low as from 5 lakhs to 10 lakhs. But in private sectors, in most centers, the transplant cost varies between 18 to 25 lakhs. If there are complications in the post-transplant period, the cost may go up. Otherwise, in most cases, the cost is usually within this range. Now, if we talk about results, liver transplant is a very well-established surgery nowadays with very good results, and we can expect a success rate of about 90% in most of these cases, and the person is back to his day-to-day activity in 3 months' time, having a productive life, which is comparable to any other person of patient's age group.
Okay, sir, that is quite wonderful to know. Sir, can you please let us know something about fatty liver?
Yes, the fatty liver can occur in any person. The person doesn't have to be obese for that. At the same time, each and every obese person does not have fatty liver. And when the fatty liver occurs, all fatty livers are not bad for liver. But once you come to know about fatty liver, one has to undergo medical check by a specialist, some blood tests, and some lifestyle changes to take care of this fatty liver and to make sure that it does not progress to a hazardous level. In those patients who have huge excessive weight, those who are morbidly obese, even obesity surgery at times helps reverse their fatty liver status and help them prevent damage to their liver.
Okay, sir. Sir, thank you so much. But before we conclude, I would definitely like you to share some take-home message for us so that we can take that message home back and inculcate to contribution of a better society.
So, for the take-home message, I would like to say that one must think about liver whenever they go for regular health checks. They should get their annual sonography done, some blood tests done. They should have discipline in their life by consuming as less alcohol as possible, have regular exercise, have disciplined dietary habits, and they should get themselves vaccinated for hepatitis B and hepatitis A. They should also insist on treatment in a place where there is good sterilization practices. If they end up needing to receive blood transfusion, they should get it from a blood bank, which has very good test protocols to screen the blood products for transmissible diseases. So, in nutshell, liver diseases are some of the liver diseases are treatable. If not so diseases are preventable. If not preventable, early detectable. And if detected early, they can be treatable. And if it is detected late or in spite of treating, the disease progresses, then transplant is there, which is well established. And at Apollo Hospital, we do living donor as well as cadaver liver transplant with very good results, which are comparable to any established center in the world. And with this, I would like to thank all of you for joining us for the Facebook Live session today. And I hope that by this session, we could spread the awareness about the liver care. And we pledge to redefine liver care in Gujarat. And here at Apollo Hospital, we have a committed team of doctors which work as a multidisciplinary team. And we hope that you'll benefit from future such sessions conducted by us. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir, for sharing such knowledgeable piece of advice with us. Thank you so much, sir. Hopefully, we can take this advice back home and we can live happy lives with healthy livers. So
Yes,
once
you will,
again,
certainly. Thank you.
so once again, happy World Liver Day to each one of you. Thank you, viewers. Thanks a lot for being with us all this time. Thank you.
Thank you.